Yo, it's time for a big Aaron Rodgers show. And Raider Rick's here because he's so excited that Rodgers doesn't look like he's going to go to your team. That's pretty exciting. If we could just, starting 2023, if there could just be no Rodgers on any of our teams here, that'd be great.
It was looking kind of scary for a while when so many rumors had him going to the Raiders, and I don't know how they would have pulled it off, and that would have been a train wreck even by Raider standards. So I got some theories about this whole going to the Jets thing that we can get into when the timing is right. But it's time for him to move on.
It definitely, there's always so much with him. It's always so layered. There's so many things that come out. Rodgers, William G. Rodgers meeting with the Jets. Yep, all the Jets flew to him, and there was all kinds of like conflicting information that they were. When first he went to meet with them. No. When you're Aaron Rodgers, they come to you.
That's right. That's how the Packers are smooching up to him, and exactly. I think JJ's got it.
If they kissed his one ring. One ring to rule the NFL or to rule the Packers franchise for years and years and years. Actually, there was a highlight thing, right, that came out to the date, right, of the Super Bowl. The only Super Bowl, last Super Bowl the Packers were in, only Super Bowl Aaron Rodgers was ever in. And they showed a bunch of highlights from him, and he looked damn good. That Super Bowl.
That was when he was my favorite.
It's like a different guy back then. Damn.
And then
way different.
Something happened. I believe it was the collapse of the 2014 NFC Championship game. I believe that is what changed Aaron Rodgers, because after that it turned into superhero ball, where he had to be, because he didn't trust McCarthy anymore.
Right.
Obviously, in the second half of that game, where they just ran the ball and then they lost it, even though they had a huge lead. And after that game, I think for the rest of his career, he's just taken over the offenses. And then that's why the Packers stunk after that, really. And then when the floor showed up, obviously, he sort of followed and did what he was supposed to the first year. And then the next year he did whatever he wanted. Well, no, he did what he wanted within the rules of what they had planned on in the offseason. And he was pissed, so he knew he had to look good because of the whole drafting Jordan Love thing. But it's interesting. I mean, what's he going to... you guys are talking like it's a done deal. I'm not going to say it's a done deal.
I'm not saying that.
I hear the word from somebody and it's guaranteed this is happening. Or I'm almost not going to believe it until I see him with the Jets stuff behind him, standing at a podium talking about how he's so happy to be a Jet. Then I'll believe it. But until then, I'm not going to get my hopes up.
Oh, I agree. He's the master of drama. So I don't think you can count any of your little Rodgers chickens before they hatch. But, it's fun to speculate, and, whatever. At least it's talking about him going somewhere else instead of staying in Green Bay. And I think some of the signs we're seeing and some of the things coming out of Green Bay certainly paint a different picture than what we've been getting the last few off seasons.
Right. I mean, that's the key difference. The key difference is
the Packers were different.
The Packers, and they're not necessarily publicly saying things, but their lack of doing things and lack of saying what they've said in the past is what's the key to what's going on. So, they're trying not to look like a bad guy in the situation with fans that are huge Rodgers fans, right? But it's one of those things where it doesn't matter because you have to do something. And, I'm just glad that hopefully they're standing up to him. Hopefully they told him, here's the deal. We need you. If you're going to be here, actually, no, hopefully they just said, we don't want you anymore. Sorry. Bye.
And
then maybe that's the whole point. And now he's like, if you want to play, fine. We don't want you. We can't cut you because it's $100 million on our salary cap, which we can't afford. But we also don't want you. So can we try to at least trade you? And then now we're hearing people I'm hearing, we'll talk about stuff later on, but I'm just if you want to get into trade compensation, all that right now, I just want to talk about this whole situation with the Packers allowing the Jets to talk to Aaron Rodgers is a huge step where just a year ago it was they're like, oh no, or 2 years ago, whatever it was,
We're not trading him.
Yeah.
Yeah, where San Francisco inquired, and Goody's like, we're not trading him. We're not trading him for anything, and blah, blah, blah. And then last year, we want him back. Come back, Aaron, and all this stuff. And now it's a very different tone. And the Packers are talking, and Goody speaks publicly about Jordan Love's ready to play. That's his next step. He needs to play. I mean, you don't say that's sending a message, right? And then Right. And then you have the whole Rodgers stuff. Now, I'm not counting it as done deal. A bunch of the people in the media are freaking out and like saying, "Oh, this is going to happen. This is going to." And then hold on there. This is still Aaron Rodgers, man. He could screw it up. Yeah. He could sabotage it. He could do. I mean, come on. He could totally blow it for the Pack. I still think his intention is like to screw the Packers as much as he possibly can. So either by taking as much money as he can, by demanding it happen before it's actually beneficial or helpful to the Packers in their cap situation, or whatever. He's going to do something, and that's fine as long as he's gone. But it appears that the team has made it clear that they are ready to move on to Jordan Love, to him, and that's a huge step. That's a huge step. So he can still come back. He can throw a fit. He can make drama if he wants to come back to the team and doesn't want to do the trade. But the big thing here is, the Packers got to be realistic because right now the Raiders are pretty much out, and that's why Rick's on tonight. I wanted to give Rick, he's looking much more relieved. Rodgers isn't coming to him. But here, this is the thing I find really funny is everybody was talking when all the quarterbacks were out there. Derek Carr's getting his visit. These other things are happening. Lamar Jackson, is coming. Everybody's like, well, everyone's waiting to see what Aaron Rodgers does before anything else happens. Well, I guess not. Because stuff be happening and Aaron Rodgers is still out there. So now, which is a ego hit to him, but it's also bad for the Packers because now it's fewer and fewer people in the mix, right? So that's the only part that's a little concerning.
I think one thing is, it's more than just talk from the Packers at this point, right? And yeah, it's a lot of speculation, but, some of these contract restructurings that they've been doing, initially I'm thinking, well, this is dumb. Why are they doing some of these things, right? Why are they pushing more money down the road into the future? But maybe this is actually kind of a smart, shifty sort of move by Goody in the front office. So maybe they deserve a little credit, right? So they're freeing up cap space for right now, which puts them in a good position to either, obviously make some key signings that they're going to need this season, but it also gives them some cushion, right? Because coming into this offseason, Rodgers was holding all the cards, right? Like he's got a huge contract that he can kill him, right? He retires, he just socks him with this huge hit. What are they going to do? The cap's going to be just blown up, right? So maybe they are maneuvering, looking to make some key free agent signings, but also it gives him a little bit of breathing room. I think takes away some of that power that he had if, they say, okay, yeah, we can weather this now. Go ahead, retire, call his bluff. Maybe that takes some of the power away from him. I mean, he's still in a very advantageous position, of course. But, I think whether intentional or not, some of these moves that the team is making does give them a little more leverage, or at least takes away some of his leverage coming into these decisions too. And I think that coupled with the statements they've been making or the things they haven't been saying might really be a sign to him that, look, we're serious about moving on. You don't hold all the cards. We're not going to bend over and let you, have your way. So, I think there's more to it than just, posturing in the media this time around. But I'm not saying he's for sure gone. And I'm sure he would relish the opportunity to screw him if possible, if he feels like he's been slighted in whatever way.
See, that's the thing I'm concerned about. Is he more excited about the fact that the Jets are falling all over themselves to get him to go there? Or does it mean more to him to be able to really destroy the Packers' plans? Because that's obviously what he loved doing after they drafted Jordan Love. He said, I threw a wrench in the plans, and I won 2 MVPs, blah, 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 blah. Don't care about the team, just care about winning MVPs.
Right.
And that's the truth. So he still doesn't care about the team, even though he repeatedly has said, oh, well, they may be generationally wealthy and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And the other thing that's really dumb is if they do trade him, they pretty much gave him $100 million for 1 year because he's guaranteed money in the extension he got signed last year was $100 million or 90 something million in guaranteed money. So we pretty much paid him $100 million for 1 season, which is ridiculous.
It was a stupid contract, no matter how you look at it.
Well, the only good thing about it was that they could possibly, by trading him now or him retiring, it only costs $40 million on the salary cap for this season, and then it's done with. As opposed to if he played this year, it'd be $30 million on the salary cap. So that's another reason why they had to rework all these guys to get extra $10 million to take the hit from trading them. And that's why when I hear these people saying like, "Oh, well, Packers need to put in some money for this," and I'm like, they're not putting in jack crap for money. All they have to pay, all the Jets have to pay is $15 million on the salary cap, even when his bonus kicks in at the start of the year. It is a $60 million. So there'll be a bunch like 40 million or whatever it is, or something crazy like that. That'll be like money they'll have to come up with. That's like signing bonus money that gets spread out over however long, like the 3 years after. But that's why it jumps from the 1 million to the 15 million is because it's like 10 million for however many years, like 4 years or whatever it is, or 11 million. I don't know how it all works, but and that's why I'd say I don't know. If the Packers can't, I mean, maybe they can pay it as long as it doesn't hurt the salary cap. They can pay it, right? But if it affects their salary cap, they won't pay it. If it doesn't affect their salary cap, which I don't know, I'm not a salary cap genius or knowing everything ins and outs about this contract. But if it doesn't affect them, then certainly they could pay it, especially if it means they'll get better picks. Because now I'm hearing they're not even going to get like jack squat for them. They'll get like a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round pick or something. That's about it. So,
well, unless the team is dumb, like the Raiders or the Browns,
I don't know.
Who's going to give up that much, knowing that the team wants to move him, or at least would be benefiting from moving him, right? So a team's not going to throw a fortune into it trying to lure him away when there's not a bidding war going on. They know it's crushing Green Bay's salary cap. He might not want to be there. Right? I mean, who's going to put that much into the pot to try to pry him away? That's a dumb move, right? If they're best off, like here's our best offer, take it or leave it. You're getting something in return at least. But,
yeah,
another interesting. Sorry.
No, but that is a real concern, right? So much of this out there, so much of this public, so many developments that it's really pigeonholed in. So let's look at this. When Brett Favre, we're going back in time because this is like repeat of 15 years ago. Here's where the Packers are. It's insane that it's so similar, but here's where we are. The Favre deal, okay? Favre comes back late, demands he wants to play. The whole thing we all heard, they move him. They're kind of in a pinch. They got to move him. Now, they had a better cap situation that year, whatever, but they still had to get rid of him. He would have been a huge distraction and all this stuff. So they had to move him fast. So they found the Jets. The deal was they traded Brett Favre for a 4th round pick. Okay. If he played 70% of the snaps, between 50 and 70% of the snaps, it was a 3rd round pick. If they made the playoffs, it was going to be a 2nd round pick. If they made the Super Bowl, it was a 1st round pick. So kind of there's been some people saying, why just dust off those papers, just like give them the same deal, right? Because the Packers can't be all that picky and choosy on like what's going on here.
You get nothing this year because that's all contingent on next year.
Well, you know what? I'm okay with that, right?
And I think they need to bump. I think they need to bump it up to a 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. Incrementally instead of the 4th, 5th, or 4th, 3rd, and 2nd and 1st, because he's worth more than a 4th round pick. I don't care what anybody says. Well, if the guy still is a good player, if he just would, and that's the other thing, he'll be motivated. That's right. The thing that's one thing I will say to Jets fans who are getting excited about this. Someone's making the comments. Jets fans are going super pumped about for some reason, and that's great. I hope for your sake, I hope he is motivated, angry, wants to prove that the Packers are dumb and blah, 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 and all this kind of crap. And that's great. And if he is, he'll probably play really, 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 really well. And maybe even do the right things. I don't know. But the way this is looking to me, like my question is, what do you guys think is going to happen if he does get traded, which it looks more and more likely. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm crossing my fingers because I don't want to jinx it. If he does get traded and they're flying all the way across the country to spend half a day or 11 hours with him or whatever it was, just to kiss his butt and get to know him. That's what was reported today. Oh, though they don't really know him, only Nathaniel Hackett. So this is just a get to know you meeting. I'm like, really? You're going to fly all the way across country for a get to know you meeting? Anyways, if they're doing that, and we already know that Nathaniel Hackett gave up everything to Russell Wilson, who's not even as good as Aaron Rodgers last season as the head coach, what kind of placating are they going to do for him if he's their quarterback in New York? I mean, is he going to run the roost there? Is Hackett just going to be a stooge that just is calling plays? But is he really offensive coordinator? But is he really? And then when the shit hits the fan and the Jets stink, because they will, sorry, Jets fans, who's going to get the blame? And who's going to take all the blame? Nathaniel Hackett needs to think about this too. That poor guy, he's gonna be out of the league after last year with Russell Wilson, and then this year if he has Aaron Rodgers and something goes downhill, he'll be out of the league. Out of the league. Poor guy. He's an awesome guy. It's a shame.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, and that was the thing. Those are the reports that he basically deferred to Wilson and everything, and that's why it got so terrible there in Denver. And if he's going to be just bowing down to Rodgers and being the buffer between Saleh when Saleh's pissed about stuff, whatever. But he's letting Rodgers do everything. I don't know. It could get really messy for him. But I don't think the Jets are going to fall apart. I don't think it's going to be terrible. Their team's too good.
No, I know. But here's the
Yeah.
Jets are the media of the Jets. They hate everything, right? Yeah. Like if you do anything wrong, they're all over you, right? Yeah, there's no secrets there. It's not like Green Bay where Rodgers could do anything and he could blame it on this guy, blame it on that guy. It's not my fault. Look at poor Zach Wilson last year. All he said, what they asked him, do you think you probably didn't perform up to expectations and let down your defense? And all his answer was, no, I don't think I let down the defense or something like that. And they ripped the crap out of him for weeks. And the fans hated him because he said that. What do you think Rodgers is going to do? Rodgers blames the wind. Rodgers blames the play calling. Rodgers blames that his teammates don't know what's going on. Just wait. The media will rip the snot out of Rodgers if he tries to pull that crap with them, and he's not thick-skinned. So how's he going to take it? I don't know. I will believe it when I see it. I'm a little concerned. I don't know if he's actually going to go through with it. I really hope that the Jets brass went over there and puckered up and kissed his ass over and over and over and over and over again so that he is now going to be gone. Because if the stuff starts creeping into his brain where he starts thinking about maybe, what could go wrong, he might, change his mind or whatever. Or if he just retires, I don't care. If he retires, fine. That's great.
Yeah.
Whatever. Don't care to me. But I'd rather get something for him, and pay $40 million on the salary cap than have him just pay $40 million on the salary cap for no reason. But it's just interesting because I don't know what could happen.
You don't know.
He could go and he play great because he's so angry and he's because he holds a grudge and he's like, I'll show them. And then next thing you know, he all of a sudden freaking plays great and the Jets do great and better for you. I don't like you, but if you could somehow, get a spark back and really make a play for the Jets and do awesome stuff, well then great for you. Salute to you. Too bad last year when the Packers gave you $100 million guaranteed, you decided to go on a trip and show up for 3 days of practice and then not show up again until August. But, if that's the other thing that's going to piss me off. If he gets traded to the Jets and all of a sudden he's there in the offseason working out with the guys and showing up for OTAs, that's going to piss me off big time. He couldn't do that for the Packers, who stood by him when Favre was there and shipped Favre out of town and stood by him for all these years and paid him all this money all these years and deflected the blame onto themselves from him all these years. And then he disappeared for the whole offseason after he got his big paycheck. But now, if he goes to the Jets and shows up for OTAs that he couldn't do last year for our team, he better do the same crap the Jets. Don't show up, don't do jack shit, then show up on freaking August, just like the good old classic Brett Favre. Remember the Vikings would fly down to Mississippi, pick up Favre, bring him back in August, right before the season started when he was a Viking, right?
Yep.
That's one thing. I hope, and I hope he does. I hope he goes to the Jets, and I hope he doesn't show up for OTAs and all. And then, oh boy, The New York media will be all over his A if he doesn't perform on the field.
I think if he does go to the Jets, it's going to be double motivation for him, right? One, to prove he's still got it.
Yeah, I know.
And two, he's following the path of Favre. And I think he's starting to embrace this, right? It's a story. He's not going to have all the Super Bowls, enough to be, the greatest quarterback ever with Super Bowl wins.
Linked with Brett Favre forever.
Another MVP. But if he can follow in Favre's footsteps and show him up going to New York and winning, he can stick it to the Packers because they traded him and he's going to be in Super Bowl form. And he goes to the Jets and can be a winner there and not text pictures of his junk to people. And
nobody wants that.
Well, they didn't want Brett's either, but he'll.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, I don't know.
But I think he's gonna be double motivated. He's gonna embrace this whole story, paralleling Favre, and that's gonna be extra motivation, extra leverage for him because it's gonna be a story, and people are gonna be talking about it and making a big deal about it. And
all year long,
it's attention. It's attention. It's the biggest stage. It's New York, and it's a story that people will be talking about every stupid pregame for the whole stupid season. And if he wins, even better, right? That's gonna be the icing on the cake. Is if he actually wins. So that's my long shot, calling it now. If he goes to New York, he's gonna be eating up that storyline.
Well, the one thing, the big question here is, will the risk-averse, risk-evasive Aaron Rodgers take a risk like this? To me, that's the whole biggest question mark in this whole deal.
People are saying he's washed up. He's got to prove him wrong.
Yeah,
and not everybody.
And maybe his ego's so big that he thinks he can prove them all wrong, and he thinks he will regain whatever form and magic he has. And maybe the Jets are making him some assurances to bring some of his guys to their team. Maybe that's another thing they're going to do.
That's something I was just looking into.
If they do that, then I could see him being like, you know what? Because if I got my guys, then I can do this, because they know my way. But if he's going to a brand new team with all new players, new teammates, new receivers, nobody in the locker room he knows, nobody he's worked with before, especially in the passing game, it's not going to go well. It's just not, especially if he's not going to put in the extra work. So the whole concern there, if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I'm a person who has avoided risk my whole career because that's my game, I'm going to take this big risk. Hope that's going to work out. Hope Garrett Wilson's going to know what the hell I want him to do, when I want him to do it, know what I'm thinking. I doubt it. But if you tell me you're going to, get these other guys in, and what if there's somebody speculating, I don't know if it's actually talked about or how legit this is, but what if, like Ben had mentioned before he was looking into, what if they agree to, what if part of the trade is David Bakhtiari going over there too? Well, okay. He'll buy him a new golf cart. Something different. I don't know. A faster one for New York. I don't know.
Well, I was going to bring that up, but the other thing is the Jets came out today and they restructured a guy, saved $3 million or something like that. There also was in the article, they said that the Jets don't have money put out into future ghost contract years like the Packers have. So they actually have a bunch of room to work with their contracts on their guys to restructure and get cap space. So they could go all in and add Dave Bakhtiari to the trade, which would, are you ready for this? It would cost the Packers $26 million dead cap salary if they traded Bakhtiari along with Aaron Rodgers. So you're talking,
who's working these contracts? Oh my God.
$64 million in dead cap if they trade Rodgers and Bakhtiari together. And his signing or his Bakhtiari's numbers for the Jets would only be about $7 million or so for this coming up season. And the Packers would have $64 million in dead cap if they traded both those players. I heard that today. They're thinking about David Bakhtiari, part of the deal. And I'm like, I don't know about all that. I mean, the Packers could save money by cutting him. They save the difference between what David Bakhtiari is supposed to make $28 million on the cap, but they can restructure it and put it in ghost years to save quite a bit of that and drop it down a lot. If he's traded and or cut, they only save $5 million on the salary cap because the 28 million would then turn into 23 million dead salary cap money. So it would save them. They would have a really tight salary cap year this year, which would stink with those two guys gone. But then after that, then it's mostly just like, the Aaron Jones restructure, the Kenny Clark, all these other guys restructures in the future, which aren't as massive as the Dave Bakhtiari and the Aaron Rodgers restructures were to salary cap hell if you let them go this early on the years of the contract. So it could happen. It could be part of the deal. Alan Lazard or Randall Cobb might be able to get signed by the Jets the next day after it happens. And I'm sure Randall Cobb would sign for a couple $1 million because, he took $5 million less last year just to hang out with Aaron Rodgers. So he'll probably sign for nothing to go join the Jets and try to make a run at it. But what I'm saying is the Jets have salary cap options by restructuring like the Packers have done over the last 4 years to do that. And the Packers really need to, if this happens, that stop doing this restructure crap and just figure out, how things are going to work for now. But anyways, these are all options. These are all things people are saying that might happen. Dave Bakhtiari added, blah, blah, blah. Randall Cobb gets signed. Alan Lazard, Robert Tonyan goes to the Jets. Who knows?
I was going to ask, who do the Jets have at left tackle? Maybe JJ knows.
That's the thing, is their offensive line is their weakest part on offense, and that's what they're concerned about. And Mekhi Becton has been injured every year, and he hasn't really proven to be a good first-round pick at all. So Dave Bakhtiari is a huge upgrade.
And they're saying this is kind of a make it or break it year for him. Like he needs to bounce back. So that's, I'm sure the Jets are hoping, but yeah, if Bakhtiari is fully healthy finally and all this, then hey, I guess it'll hurt this year, but you get through this year, you see what you can do. You lean on your defense. You let your new quarterback come in. You lean on all these young guys and see what happens. Brandy's got an interesting question. She says, what does a person say to Rodgers to get him to play for them?
Well, I think they give him like a vending machine that has ayahuasca in it. They give him his own dark little room off to the side. So if he ever needs to go into the dark room to contemplate his future or understand the game plan, or, that's all going to be part of the package. So ayahuasca vending machine, his own dark closet to hide in for however many days he needs to hide in, as long as he's there for practice and playing, right? That's part of the deal. Maybe the Packers wouldn't give it to him, and that's why he wants to be gone so bad. He needs that. He needs that dark room. He needs that ayahuasca. I don't know.
They'd probably, have to approach him and say, okay, Aaron, I know you can do this by yourself, but the rules state we have to have 10 other guys out there. So is it all right if we have some people line up around you? Maybe you can help us pick who you want. Maybe something along those lines, just to, ease him into it a little bit. Let him know that you understand he's running the show.
He's the play caller. He's the part GM, part offensive coordinator, part play caller. Okay. And yeah, look, man, whatever they got to do, just say it. It'll be great. And maybe this time the Hackett thing works out for the team that brings in Nathaniel Hackett.
Hey, I got a question for you guys.
Because Aaron Rodgers loves him.
He does. He does love him, and Hackett's going to do whatever he wants and be his little bitch, and that's why he loves him so much, probably. But here's my question: have you heard anybody in the comments too? Have you heard any rumblings? What's been the rumblings on local radio in Green Bay or in Madison and Green Bay? Just fan posts. Like, are people pissed? Are they like, oh my God, I can't believe they're letting Rodgers go? Or is it more like the consensus that I've heard from longtime Packer fans who have come to the conclusion that a lot of them are like, maybe it's the time to have it happen and we're okay with it and blah, blah, blah. Like, what have you heard a lot of it? Anybody know?
We will wait for some of that to roll in. I've seen nothing, but I've seen a lot more people ready for a change. And some people, when you see a post like, oh, that's a positive, Jordan Love's ready and the Packers, you still get some of the trolls in there who give like the laugh face and some of the other stuff. But in general, I think they're ready to see what this kid's got, and the Packers are ready to see what he's got. And he's been working. I think that's the other key, right, that I see from Jordan Love. And this is why I think fans will give him a chance. Is he's been working. He's been keeping his mouth shut. He's been working hard. He's been improving. He's been there for all the stuff, all the voluntary things. And, you know, he wants to play. I get it. But at the same time, I think people will respect the work he's put in. And if you hear, like Matt LaFleur's talked about him, how much different is Matt LaFleur's demeanor when he talks about Jordan Love than when he's talking about Aaron Rodgers, right?
Well, there's an interesting thing. Apparently, Matt LaFleur was studying Jordan Love tape and all this stuff halfway in the middle of the season in 2019. Like in the middle of the season. Like not off season, not after 2019 season, but during the 2019 season, he was already excited about Jordan Love. And I don't know if you remember, but when they showed the cut shot, because that was the draft when, of course, all the guys were on Zoom and they couldn't even be in the same room. Remember, LaFleur was in his own home and Goody was there. Goody was at the office and there was like maybe 4 guys in the office with him with masks on. And Matt LaFleur was pumped when they drafted Jordan Love. He was excited, super excited. And I think a lot of people blame Goody for it, and Goody took the hit. But I think LaFleur was also a big, guy who was really on the Jordan Love train back in 2020 offseason and before that, and was excited to get that, moving forward for future seasons. And, it just didn't happen because they made a dumb mistake. They should have traded him last year, like I said, like most people, not most people, but a few people said, because they're never going to get more from him after 2 MVP seasons. That's a blow. Yeah. He could have had a bunch of first-round picks and a bunch of good players. Now we're going to end up with, a third-round pick or a second-round pick if we're lucky. I mean, it just seems dumb. It seems dumb, but at least it'll be over, and that's all I'm looking for.
Lots of people here. I don't know if you call these comments, but I mean,
a lot of them,
most people are in favor of it. They realize it's time, and they're tired of how it's gotten. I mean, look, the guy, come on. It's clear. Like, I think what you said was true to start the show. I think after the 14, that collapse in that 2014 NFC Championship, which cost him a chance to get back to the Super Bowl and cost Aaron Rodgers a chance to get back to the Super Bowl. And he said publicly multiple times how that was a really good team. Like the 14 team was one he thought was a championship level team. Okay. Across the board. Cause they had a good defense too. And they could run the ball and all this stuff, but he followed the game plan in the second half and the game plan sucked. The game plan was handed off, punt, handed off, punt. Way too much. Just McCarthy did the classic. We took the foot off the gas, and then we know all the crazy things that happened. And I think that's when he stopped trusting McCarthy and his coaches and wanted to take over and be the man. But he wasn't doing all of this stuff that he's been doing the last couple of years. The drafting of Jordan Love was what broke him mentally or whatever, to the point where he's like, now I'm just going to be a distraction and say whatever the hell I want and do a bunch of crazy stuff, like be as eccentric and wild and out there as I can, and publicly talk about it all the time and question all these things and throw people under the bus in the media and in public and all that. I'm taking that up so many notches because they did this to me, and that's what I'm doing from now on. This is how I'm going to be. So I think those two things happened, and they were very different things. Because even in that stretch, like, it was pretty calm until there. Like little grumblings with frustration with McCarthy towards the end. I get it, but like, man, it just went into a whole new level after the drafting of Love. So
I was talking mostly about just his play on the field.
I know, but
his mechanics went.
He's a huge distraction.
His ability to read the defense. He stopped reading the defense and started just doing matchups and not running plays. Right. He started doing like play on the playground instead of, and that's why you saw so many like awesome, Richie Rodgers bomb at the end of the Detroit game for a touchdown, and in the playoffs against the Cardinals the year after that, right, where it was 2 bombs, boom, in a row, and then, or maybe it was 2016. I can't remember what year it was when they had the Cardinals 2 bombs and 50. Yeah, there you go. Well, they couldn't move the ball in that game against the Cardinals. They sucked. Yeah, they had no business even getting to overtime. But he made 2 unbelievable throws in a row, two Hail Marys in a row that got him into overtime. And then, of course, the Packers defense gave up a huge play and it sucked. But it's those 2 seasons the way the seasons ended, where one of them was McCarthy. The problem with McCarthy was that he never took chances. The next year was the problem with Rodgers, is that he didn't read the defense and didn't run the offense anymore. And he relied on big plays and superhero ball to try to win games, which works against bad teams, but doesn't work against good teams, which is only proven over and over and over the years. So, and that's why I'm ready to see him go. I'm ready to see Jordan Love, who his personal quarterbacks coach has said he wants to run the offense. He wants to know the offense better than Matt LaFleur, if not as good as Matt LaFleur, so that he can tell everybody what's going on the field. So that's what it's exciting to me, as a guy who maybe wants to run the freaking plays the way they're called and, take advantage of, and then we'll see if LaFleur is actually a good play caller and a good coach, or, we don't even know. We don't even know. But this is a huge risk for Goody and for LaFleur. Because if Love stinks or if stuff doesn't go right, they'll be canned before you know it. The fans will be, pitchforks will be going to their houses.
Raider Rick, you got, where are you at on this? I know you're glad the Raiders aren't totally blowing everything up and dismantling things to get, said Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback. But from a Packers fan perspective, your second favorite team.
Well,
what do you feel?
What I've been hearing, it seems like there's certainly a split between fans who are ready to turn the page and move on, and fans who are like, "Oh, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's got it. He doesn't have the support, the just blind crazy support." But I really think, first off, winning makes it easy to ignore a lot of problems, and they weren't doing that as well last year. Right? When they lost, they were losing ugly. That's going to alienate a lot of the fan base. And, let's face it, Green Bay is really pretty blue collar, right? People don't appreciate the prima donna, California, preppy hippie, I'm too good for this, I'm too cool for school sort of attitude, right? That turns out a lot of people off. And I think a lot of people, it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So, it's easy to overlook that when the guy's playing like a superstar and the team's winning. But when he's stinking it up, the team is stinking it up, and he's got attitude to go along with it, right? You're going to have a lot of people rolling over and not, so strongly on the Rodgers support wagon. So, yeah, I think it's split. It's hard to get a real read as to what's going to happen. I think there's so many unknowns that it might be easier if we had seen more of Jordan Love in real action and people really knew what to expect, right? But I think a lot of the people that are no longer supporting Rodgers are just sick of the antics, sick of the not playing the game. Like you guys have talked about, it's not fun to watch because it's predictable, right? You know what's going to happen. It's going to be the same crap that's going to cost him in the same situations. And, I think I've at least been seeing more people on the side of it's time to move on than the last couple of seasons. So, I think overall the fan base is ready. And even if they don't make the playoffs, even if they do sneak into the playoffs, but they're fun to watch or they're in the games, right? That's going to have a lot of support for Love and the team, right? How many games in the last season were just not at all any fun to watch?
Most of them.
Right? Even if they were close on the scoreboard at some point, it was just frustrating. It was annoying. You didn't have confidence that they were going to be able to put them away. And that has really been missing, right? I mean, that was part of the thrill of watching Favre, is that you could be down by 6 touchdowns and he might throw 6 touchdowns to bring you back, or he might throw 6 interceptions. You didn't know, but there was always a chance.
Yeah.
And young Aaron Rodgers had that same swagger, that same confidence, like, hey, we're never out of it. And then in the last half dozen seasons, it's just like,
that started. Somebody talked about the Falcons playoff game in 2016 was embarrassing. That was the start of when I, as a Aaron Rodgers fan, like I didn't see it before this, but that was when I saw him on the sidelines, visibly checked out of a game.
Yeah,
in the third quarter of a playoff game against Atlanta. Yeah.
Yep.
And this was after the Jared Cook catch game, right? It
was a magical 2016 run and all that.
It was the very next week. And in that game, the Packers were getting their butts handed to them. They could not stop Atlanta's offense, which, of course, was the Kyle Shanahan offense with Matt Ryan, MVP Matt Ryan, who stinks.
But ran the offense.
Who ran the offense to perfection, the same offense that we supposedly had that we haven't seen yet in 3 seasons. But you need this to say anything about that. But in that game, the Packers were down by double digits points in the third quarter, and Aaron Rodgers on the sideline looked like a guy who's like, I don't care anymore. And then I was like, what is going on? Like he wasn't taking shots. He wasn't trying to throw the ball down into tight windows to like make plays to try to score points. He just kind of gave up. And that second half was just the Packers offense giving up and Rodgers giving up. And as a fan a guy who was never a Brett Favre fan, you can ask anybody in the world. One thing about Brett Favre is, like you said, Rick, he never gave up. He didn't know if he was going to throw 6 picks. He didn't know if he was going to throw 6 touchdowns, but he was going to try the entire game, even if he threw 6 picks. Didn't matter. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl a couple years back. He lost that game, but man, he had no offensive line. Both of his tackles got hurt, and he was running around for his life, just chucking up crazy balls. He had Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill drop 2 huge deep passes that would have won them that game had they not dropped those 2 passes. And that is a quarterback I want to see. But that's not the way Rodgers has played since 2016 playoffs. That's a long time. That's more than half dozen. That's 7 seasons worth of Rodgers playing like a guy who, when the chips are down, he's down. He's not coming out. He's not coming out and making a play. The chips are down. He's done.
Right. He doesn't lead you back. He doesn't
want his He doesn't want his numbers to look bad. And the only thing I can say to Jets fans who, if they're listening to this and you think you're excited about this Rodgers coming, is maybe he will try for you when the chips are down because he wants to prove a point to somebody. That's the only thing. That's the only thing you have to hold your head on, because he can do it. He has the talent, and he has the arm strength, and he has the accuracy still to this day. He can't move. He can't get away from the rush anymore like he used to. I can tell you that right now. He's way slower than he used to be.
Right.
But he can still throw the ball. He is still accurate most of the time. And if he really wants to, his biggest problems the last couple of years has been when he's throwing the ball off his back foot or off platform. He can't do that anymore. He doesn't have the arm strength that way anymore. But he's very good when he can set himself in the pocket and throw the ball. So I don't know. He hasn't proven us to Packer fans over the last bunch of years that he does that or he wants to do that for 7 seasons. And if you ask me, because obviously 17 he got hurt, didn't play or whatever it was, or 16, one of those years. 18 he got hurt and played the whole year, but he didn't do it. He actually looked good half the time, and he threw the ball away 50 freaking times to get McCarthy canned. So who knows? But that's all I'm saying. Maybe you're onto something, Rick. We watched Favre. We're old enough to know what it looks like when a guy is out there busting his butt, even if he's a ding-dong. This guy thinks he's smarter than everybody, but when the chips are down, don't count on Rodgers because he won't be there for you when the chips are down. Sorry, Jets fans. He's going to have everything perfect around him, and then, he'll take you there. Packers, people don't remember, we had the number 1 rated defense in 2010. It wasn't just Aaron Rodgers and the guys. It was Colin Jenkins and Clay Matthews and Charles Woodson and, Nick Collins and a whole bunch of other, Ryan Pickett, you name them, a whole bunch of guys that played, Tremont Williams, who played great. It was a number 1 rated defense that year. And Rodgers did enough to get us there. He had a great game against Atlanta, but the other games were real tight.
And the Super Bowl, he played great.
Well, Super Bowl was pretty tight too.
Yeah, he played
Ben Roethlisberger to throw 2 interceptions and 1 return for a touchdown, and we needed Mendenhall to fumble for us to win that game.
That's also because Jordy Nelson dropped 6 balls.
Yeah, you're right. Jordy Nelson dropped.
I mean, Jordy Nelson should have had 14 catches in that game for like 200 and something. It would have been insane.
And Double D got hurt.
But anyway, the point, Rodgers played great in the Super Bowl. He played awesome. It was unbelievable. Okay. And actually that 2015, the pass to Jeff Janis in the end zone, that last Hail Mary to tie the game was like the greatest pass I've ever seen in my life. Like, I don't know how the hell he did it. It was insane. Like, if you can go back and, the way he threw the ball, that was the most incredible throw I've ever seen in my whole life. Now there are a bunch of great comments. You guys have been really active. We appreciate you. We're going to keep it going. I can't get to all of them, but Brandy has one quick thing here. Says, I want what is best for the Packers. Who am I to say what that is? Brandy, you are a fan. You can say what that is. And we have opinions on this show, so we can all say what that is. Let me get to one other thing here. I wanted to say, you guys had a bunch of great comments. People are asking about Lamar Jackson. I don't know why so many teams are saying they're out on him. The Jets could go that way. Other teams could go that way. But I'm not sure what the deal is. If you want to go younger, you go with him. If you're looking for, to like we've said before, you're not. If you go with Rodgers for the Jets, you're trying to maximize right now, and you're not totally giving up on Zach Wilson. Like you're still giving that a chance to maybe work out potentially. So
perfect.
You know,
it's perfect fit for Jets.
That's why it makes the most sense to all of us. And then Brandy also asked, do you think Love likes running the ball? I surely hope so. I think Jordan Love will run the play that's called. And I would love to see that personally. Let me ask you guys a question. Let me ask everybody in the chat a question. What was the most fun game to watch last season? You guys answer while everybody in the chat is thinking about it.
It's the Eagles game.
Yeah.
The Vikings game.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Vikings game. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers had 159 yards passing in that game.
I don't know.
That was the most fun game to watch because it was a team game. Jordan Love is not going to try to overthrow the game and throw it 40 sometimes and run it only 20 times. That's not how he's going to play. Matt LaFleur had plenty of run plays called in every single game. We heard all about it after. Well, we had plays called, but we let the quarterback decide what's the best thing on the field there. Look, man, Jordan Love is going to run the plays and he's going to do some stuff from time to time, but I want to see an offense. Why else do you pay the money? You bring back Aaron Jones. You're bringing back the staples for the run game that you need, okay, to make life easier for your new quarterback. And that's how it should be. So,
well, I mean, we'll have time to talk about what they're going to do on offense, but I would say, I think it's Jordan Love is going to, hopefully, if this trade goes through and the Packers are not dumb and Rodgers will not veto it or whatever, then Jordan Love will have a chance. And he proved to me in that Eagles game that he was able to read the coverage. He saw there's two plays I brought up after the game. The one where he was supposed to pass to his right, and Darius Slay sits in that spot and he says, "Oh crap!" and then he dumps it off to A.J. Dillon on the other side. Okay, because he jumped it. Because he saw Darius Slay jump it. And then the very next series, he comes out, looks back over there, and then Aaron Jones does a wheel route to the outside, and he sees Slay jump it again, and he pops it over the top of Slay with a perfect pass that Jones drops. He was able to read, first of all, to not throw the ball, because that would have been picked off for a touchdown the first time, and he didn't throw it, saw the problem, and dumped it off to his running back. Second time, he saw them jump it and then threw it over the top of them between where the safety was deep and the corner was sitting down on the flat. And it was a perfect pass. And those are two things he read on the spot. Boom. Within seconds. Boom. Read the defense. Get to my check down. Boom. Read the defense. Find the hole. Drill it in there. Perfect pass. The guy didn't catch it, unfortunately. But those are two plays in particular that I remember watching. It wasn't just a great, the 9-yard pass to Christian Watson that he took all the way for touchdown. Yeah, that was awesome. But it was being able to read the coverage, see the guy in the wrong spot, know where your outlet is, and then come back and know, based on what happened previously, where the hole is going to be for you to throw the ball and get a first down. Just the guy dropped it. Those are things that a starting quarterback can do. And those are things that Aaron Rodgers doesn't honestly do, to be quite honest. We haven't seen him do that in years. And Jordan Love showed it to me on two different plays in that Eagles game. And that's why I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that. So let's do it.
And Todd's here too and commenting. He says, one more piece of the puzzle is if Rodgers is gone, Goody can stake his claim. This is his team, right? Every GM wants to get their guy and show that they can pick a guy that's going to be, the leader of the team and be that next big, franchise quarterback, right? That's their number one job. And Goody thinks, he obviously thought plenty of Jordan Love to make the move he did when he did at that time. And they were all, like Ben said, they were all excited about it. We all saw it. You all saw it in the draft room. Matt LaFleur was jumping up and down when they made the pick for Jordan Love. So let's see what the kids got. It is time. As Kevin Green, RIP, once said, it is time. It is time. Rick, go for it.
I was going to say, there's been some chatter in the comments here about whether or not it was a good idea to re-sign Jones.
Zero's trying to probe Ben again. He's trying to trigger him here.
Yeah,
dang it, don't start it.
In this case, right, whether it's this year or next year, whenever they move on, in all likelihood, they're going to have a young quarterback, right? Presumably Love at the helm. From rumblings, rumors, reports, there's a lot of guys that are on board. They like him as a teammate. He's a good team leader, but he's a young quarterback, right? I think what Aaron Jones brings, aside from a dangerous offensive weapon that should fit well into the offense if it's run properly, you got a veteran guy that's, by all accounts, well respected, right? You got a guy who's a well-grounded leader, not one of the ding-dongs on the defensive side that's flashy and, like, I just don't see some of their superstar defensive players being the same type of leader that you're going to get in Aaron Jones. And certainly on the offensive side of the ball, you're going to need that with a young quarterback. If it's Love, whoever it is starts to struggle, they're going to need a guy who's going to pick him up, someone that can, carry the load on the field, in the locker room. So I think it's more than just what he's going to be doing on the field. I think he brings more to it in a leadership role. He's an established guy. I think that's part of what they were paying for, some of that stability.
Yeah,
I
100%.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting because I don't think they're bringing back Mercedes Lewis or Randall Cobb, right? And then if Aaron Rodgers gets traded, the two main veterans on the team at this point then would be David Bakhtiari, who, let's face it, we just talked about how that might be part of the deal or cutting or whatever, who knows. Elton Jenkins and Aaron Jones. Like, those are your oldest guys, really, on the whole team. At least who've been there for 4 years or more. Because Lazard, he is not coming back. They can't afford that. And they shouldn't pay that either. Tunyon maybe might end up coming back because I think he'll get to the free agency and people will be like, we don't want you. And maybe he'll come back for super cheap on a 1-year deal and see if maybe he can get more targets with the different quarterback. Hopefully. Maybe that, I think that would be actually pretty good. Maybe he would come back, but I don't know. He might just go to the Jets and follow Rodgers if that's where Rodgers ends up, right? But by keeping Jones, by extending him out and doing that stuff, it really only costs like a couple million more on the salary cap than if they would have just outright cut him because he took that pay cut. And it gives us a guy who the fans love, right? He is a true Packer through and through and always will be. And he's a guy who is never like there's every 100% of Packer fans you talk to. Hey, you love Aaron Jones, one of the best Packers, one of your favorite Packers. Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. Everybody loves him. He's the Donald Driver of this 10-year period here, right? Donald Driver was the guy before him. Now it's Aaron Jones. Every year there's a guy who is on offense and defense, whatever it might be, who is the quintessential Packer. And Aaron Jones is that. And Goody and the Packers are giving us goodwill by doing that, which is hopefully they're probably thinking is enough to, because there's a lot of fans who don't follow the stuff as much as we do and everybody here in the comments do, right? A lot of Packer fans are just watch the games, get excited when they win or lose. They don't know how much the salary cap cuts in and all this crazy stuff and draft picks and all this. And, they don't pay attention to any of that crap. They just watch the games. They love the stars and move on from there. So this is a huge, huge thing for the Packers to give, those fans somebody they're familiar with, a fan favorite who they can believe in, and maybe, lessen the blow or cushion the blow of the Rodgers trade.
And let's be honest, his production speaks for itself. I know a couple of people have brought up a couple of fumbles here and there, but there are reasons for those fumbles, and guys fumble. And if you want to examine all the bad plays, then start looking at all the bad throws Aaron Rodgers made or interceptions or missed tackles for other guys. Like, come on, we can pick apart a bunch of stuff. But Aaron Jones, for his career, has been one of the most productive NFL running backs in the history of the league. You give the guy the ball, it's 5 yards. Like, that just doesn't happen. So it doesn't matter what he looks like, how big he is, how fast he is. The guy's productive and just continues to be productive. And when used properly, can be even more dangerous in the passing game. And that's the stuff we've seen too. So Zero's coming around on that. Jones the Unicorn. Also, I just wanted to say, look, there's a lot of really good stuff going on with the Packers team. They have good guys on the team. The defense is coming around. Like, we're really excited for the defense this year. Who knows what they can do with some of these draft picks. And the fact that they're not looking for a quarterback helps them. They're not going to be desperate to make some crazy move and do all kinds of stuff. So the Packers could really strengthen their team again with a good draft class. And you put that with a young quarterback and a young group of wide receivers that are going to grow and progress together and all be on the same page through all the offseason, voluntary workouts and all this stuff. Maybe that passing game clicks pretty damn good. And Jordan Love is going to be happy to take those easy play action pass completions, including the throw he made to Christian Watson was actually a play action pass. It was a run fake. Part of the reason Watson had one guy on him, and he's going to run away from one guy. I'll tell you that, no problems. So again, Jordan Love will make the easy throw. It'll look different at times, 100%. That doesn't mean it's not going to be as good. Doesn't mean it might not even be better, because if you run the ball and you take the easy completions and work within this offense. Look, guys, we talked about it 100 times. I'll say it again. Look at all the quarterbacks that are running the system and having great success. You don't have to be a superhero quarterback to hand the ball off and then make play action shots to wide open guys.
Well,
you could score points that way. You could score a lot of points that way. I'm saying Jared Goff does it. Matthew Stafford did it. Matt Ryan was an MVP, for crying out loud. Come on. It's there.
Well, statistically, the running game's been really up and down, right? Like, but just imagine, I know I don't have to tell you guys this, but man, just think if they use the running backs the way they should, right? Use Jones the way Jones should be used. Use Dillon the way he should be used, right? First off, just use those guys in the roles that they fit best. And think of the success you can set up with that, actual 1-2 punch if you set them up for the type of runs that they should excel at. Now you do that and support it with the running game, or utilizing these guys coming out of the backfield, or setting up the play action, or even draw plays, right? Like, run the offense. They got the tools to do it, right? I mean, they got two dynamic running backs that really should complement each other pretty well. You got a young quarterback. I mean, this is the perfect scenario for having a young quarterback who now has at least experience in the league, right? Not a lot of game time experience, but time working with these guys in practice, working with the coach, right? I mean, it's exactly what you're saying. Like, don't make it hard. And there's no reason to make it hard. They have everything in place.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is like, the Tesla cruise control. Like, just turn it on, stay in your lane, and let it go, right? I mean, they don't have to make it hard. As long as their offensive line can at least slow down the rush. And that, again, use your running backs, right? I don't think their offensive line is going to look nearly as bad as it has if they actually know whether they're run blocking or pass blocking on a play, right?
That's fair, yeah.
I mean, you saw how frustrated was Jenkins looking in some of those games, right?
Yep.
Come on, those guys want to block. They want to go hit somebody. Let them open a hole. So, yeah, I mean, play to your strengths. It's not hard. I mean, like you guys were talking about last week, how many 1-yard touchdowns did Brett Favre had, right? I mean, that was his bread and butter. How many years? Edgar Bennett lived off that. His Tough Mudder 3-yard touchdown receptions. So, was it flashy? No. Was it effective? Heck yeah.
Yeah. Well, good points. All right. Ben, do you have anything else on that? Or can I go to the last bit? My golden nugget for tonight. It's a special thing if you hung around this long.
I'm good. We've been on for an hour.
All right. Here it is.
Had enough. It's just a special Aaron Rodgers trade rumor flying to California show.
Okay. Golden nugget, because it happened to me. Okay. So you may recall that we had a little moment in our last show where I said this, and I'll play it, and then just to remind you, I'll pause it after, or I'll cut it after we get to the point here. But because have you read his comments from his Aubrey Matthews or what was Aubrey Matthews?
Aubrey Matthews,
Matthews.
Don't you dare defame Aubrey Matthews' name.
Right. Now, does anybody remember who Aubrey Matthews is? Hopefully most of us do. If you're old as we are, he was a Green Bay Packer. Now, he was a Green Bay Packer for 88 and 89 season only. I didn't realize it was I don't know why he stuck out to us so much, because he was part of the cardiac pack of 89.
He was my favorite. He was probably one of my favorite players on the team. I have a picture of me. I drew a picture for some reason of Mikowski throwing to Aubrey Matthews. I don't know why. I was an artist back then. This was a 1989 season. And I drew I don't know why. I have it somewhere back in Algoma there. Of me drawing, it's this picture of Magic throwing to Aubrey Matthews. I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, he had 15 receptions in 88 and 18 receptions for 200 yards in 1989. So he certainly was not a big part of the team.
He's still one of my favorite guys.
But that was
just like Terry Mickens.
Also, he's currently 60 years old, by the way. Also, he was a grand size of 5'7", 165 pounds as a player. Little Aubrey Matthews. Pretty wild. But for whatever reason, he stuck in our name. And again, it was the Aubrey Marcus podcast, but I said Aubrey Matthews. Now, I got to lay this out. This is the golden nugget. I'm driving around. I went to get a screening for my new job, which I'm really super excited about. But I got to pass some medical screening stuff to get in there. It's almost like, I'm an NFL player. I had to take like a Wonderlic test before after I applied for the job, before I got the interview, and now I got to go through.
And they still give you the interview after the Wonderlic.
I nailed it. I was awesome.
Good thing Rick tested us last year, or else you probably would have failed it.
I know. It was amazing. Anyway, it was totally not expecting that. Anyway, the point is, I'm driving back and I'm listening to a show, ESPN Wisconsin, Wilde and Tausch. So Jason Wilde has been a Packer reporter forever. He's really not that great of a radio show host, but they keep giving a radio show host. Whatever, fine. He's fine. He's been around the Packers for 20-some years. Great. Mark Tauscher, former Packer player, former Badger player. All right. Great Packer, by the way. Really wish he would have been able to come back in 2010. 2009 was his last season when he came back and rescued the Packers because they needed him so bad. He couldn't play 2010, and then he didn't get a Super Bowl ring, which sucks for him because he was an awesome dude and awesome player. Anyway, he does this radio show. These two guys do this radio show. It's a little weird because they both have kind of high voices. So normally when you do a show, you want a little variation between the host voices.
What are you talking about? You and I sound exactly the same most of the time.
I know, but our radio show's gone now. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
you don't have the staying power with it. Anyway, point is. All right. Tangentials. But here we go. So I'm listening to this radio show in my vehicle, and this happens live. Okay. So I had to go back and find the podcast. I'm going to share it with you right now because this shows you can glean what you want from this. I don't even know what it says to me other than it made me like, I was like, holy cow, listen to that. So it either made me think a couple of different things, but maybe that Mark Tauscher listens to our show. I don't know. Maybe that, who knows, but this is courtesy of Wisconsin On Demand, also ESPN Wisconsin. Wilde and Tausch. Let's hear a little bit from Wilde and Tausch.
It is personal. It's going to be incredibly personal for him. This is important to him. He loves the legacy that he's left in Green Bay, and I don't think he wants to ever cede ground. He has basically said, you know what, you drafted Jordan Love. I've thrown a wrench in your plans. He takes a lot of pride in that. He said it on Aubrey Matthews' podcast the other day. It's a constant thing for him is to prove himself right.
That proves
Come on, what does that tell you?
That just tells you that Tausch was a Packer fan in 1988, 1989. That's all. Somewhere deep in his mind, he remembers Aubrey Matthews the same as we do. Or he does watch our show, one or the other.
Those two guys count for 20% of your views, probably.
Maybe.
I'm driving in my car listening to this show that I never listened to for 25 minutes, and I hear that. I was just like, what? And he didn't have Ben on his show to be like, Aubrey Matthews, Aubrey, what? He didn't have that.
Wilde probably doesn't know who Aubrey Matthews is or was. Because he's not a true Packer fan. He's just a reporter. He doesn't know.
So anyway, I just thought I had to share that on our next show, whenever the hell that show happened. It was just tonight. So, all right.
I didn't listen to Andy Herman this week, but maybe he said it too. Maybe you guys really are the source. Andy Herman starts talking about Aubrey Matthews, then I know you guys have made it.
I don't think nobody knows who Aubrey Matthews is other than me.
Nico remembered him. He was like, I sent him a thing, and he's like, he's 88, right? And I was like, yep, he was 88. And I think 88. Adam remembered him. So some people remembered him. He left his mark on the Green Bay Packers.
Terry Mickens was number 88 too at first. And then Fatty Keith Jackson signed, and they made Terry Mickens switch to 85. So they give 88 to Fatty Keith.
Darn.
That's the reason why I don't like.
Double eights are slimming.
That's true.
I know. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. They can look faster.
That's fair. JJ McQuaid's wondering, what about the Bucks? Hey, the Bucks are awesome. And Brook Lopez, man, when he gets to actually when Giannis doesn't play and he's the focal point of the big guy inside, can do all that stuff, it's pretty cool. but you still got to have Giannis. I get it.
What? Purple Lilac gets bullied.
What, you bullied on other shows? So what? You should not get it bullied at all.
We don't bully anybody.
We don't bully on this show. Our chat
Unless
is
you're Aaron Rodgers, then you
Yeah, if
bully.
you're Aaron Rodgers, we'll bully your
yeah.
ass on here, but otherwise,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
And nobody listens. Nobody in the comments. These guys they're all good guys.
Oh, good
girls.
good people.
Good girls, good gals, good girls, good guys.
Purple 55. Maybe this is Adarius. Maybe.
Oh crap! All right, you might not want to listen then, Purple 55. You might not want to be listening to our podcast because we do kind of rip the crap out of you there.
Bucks are. I think they're going to do it this year. They just keep adding guys, and they're awesome. So, Bucks will win, and then who knows if the Packers pull this off? Come on,
Bill Michaels.
Fingers
Bill
crossed.
Michaels is an idiot. Bill
What?
Michaels and I go way back, all the way back to Terry.
Oh, that's right.
Mickens. Since we're
Then
talking
you
about
bully-
Terry Mickens, Bill Michaels said back in 1996 or 97, one of those two summers, he said Terry Mickens wasn't going to make the team. He was going to not make the team, get cut. And I called into the Bill Michaels radio show as a young feller, like I was 20-some years old, 22, 21, and I said that Terry Mickens is going to make the team because of his special teams contributions, and they were going to trade and or cut Kadri Ismail, or no, the missile. Which one's the missile?
Yeah, that's
Kadri, because he was on the team at the time, and he was there to do kickoff returns, but they had just picked up Bill Schrader. So I was like, no, Bill Schrader will be the number 5 and be the kick return guy, and Terry Mickens will make the team as the number 6. And I was right. And Bill Michaels was like, ooh. And then I talked really fast. I was on hold for like 2 hours, by the way, back then. Back then, you had to call in on the shows and wait forever. It sucked. And I almost fell asleep a couple times, but then I finally, and I just blurted out like, blah, 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 blah. You know me, I would talk about 100 miles an hour. And then I get done, and Bill Michaels was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense, but we'll see. I'll believe it if I see it. So don't worry about Bill Michaels, Lilac 55. Bill Michaels don't know jack squat. He just showed up again now because he's got nowhere else to go, and he thinks like he knows what's going on. He hasn't been in Green Bay for a while, and he's thinking like I've heard some of his stuff. He doesn't know what's going on.
Well,
oops, sorry, Jonathan. Bill Michaels is his friend. Oops,
sorry. Yep. He's finally coming around. Everybody's coming around, and everybody should come around to the Bucks. Going to win the title this year. They're going to do it. God, it's going to be fun. Anyway, okay. Everybody, keep your fingers crossed. Keep your hopes alive. Hope that Rodgers doesn't screw this up. Seems like the Packers have finally stood up to him, and it is definitely time to move on. We appreciate all of you for being around. We also appreciate Mark Tauscher for being a big fan of our show and listening in.
Yeah,
and just
thanks,
more
Mark
proof.
Tauscher.
More
if you
proof.
want to come on, if you want to cover on Mark Tauscher, just let us know.
I'd love to have Mark Tauscher on, and he likes to give opinions too, so it's great. He likes to talk some nonsense once in a while and talk about crazy stuff. Mark Tauscher, you are always welcome on the P.O.O Show. So are all of you. Be good, stay good. Thanks for joining us for a special Wednesday edition. The next show will be if there's Aaron Rodgers movement. It's kind of like a bowel movement. If it happens out of nowhere and we're not expecting it, we will be on. All right, and we'll catch you then. We'll do an emergency show, and if there's a trade announcement, it'll be a party show that night for as long as we can stand it. Be good. Catch you next time. Raider Rick, thanks for being here, man. Peace out. Stay well, buddy.
Just to hold me till I treat you. Got to find